Welcome to the broadcast. I want to thank you for joining. I'm so excited today. I have a gentleman from Los Angeles, California. He's a real estate professional, Bill Gross, and I guess you go by Bill, right? Okay, good. So,
But if
I
if you're calling me to refer me business, you can call me whatever you want.
okay, great. Well, I'm on my LinkedIn thread, and I'm friends with a lady. She shared a webinar, or actually, I shouldn't say a webinar. You do two live shows a week, and she just shared it, and that's why we want to share our content on as many platforms as you can. I clicked on it. I started watching, and I thought, I really like Bill, and I love the content he's giving people and the way he provides the information. It's kind of like you have your own call-in radio show, but Bill Gross, thanks for joining today.
Thank you.
And I just wanted Bill to talk a little bit you've had your license, if I remember right, since 1985?
1986.
1986.
Mm.
But I remember on the one podcast or YouTube live stream I was watching, you had mentioned that you kind of a few years ago just wanted to rethink your whole business philosophy and what you were doing. And you ran across this thing called Probate Mastery, and I'll let you talk a little bit more about that. But your business just went to a whole new level after that.
Yeah, I've been in real estate since 1986. I've done a lot of things. I was in mortgages. I've been in sales, management, ownership, and I had gravitated to executive management. My generation, I think we always thought that was the progression, right? You start as a salesman, and some other managers hire. It's not really true in real estate, but I learned that the hard way. And I've been in running a company. We had 7 branches. They had 4 when I started and 7 when I left. We'd done real well. I made a lot of money, but I didn't find it very fulfilling. I didn't like working for the ownership. There was no path for me to own anything. And I was 60 years old, and my good friends passed away. And I just decided I didn't want to spend however long I have working. I didn't want to spend that time. Oops, sorry about that, Matilda. I didn't want to spend the rest of my time in my career, doing something I didn't enjoy. And I knew that in real estate, you have the unique opportunity to get paid what you're worth. And but you have to create value to get paid money. You can't just do something. You have to do something that other people appreciate and will, as a result, buy or sell property with you. And so I come across a man who actually had been one of my first coaches in the business, Don Hobbs. Don Hobbs was the sales manager back when Tony Robbins started his career as a salesman for Jim Rohn. So Jim Rohn's like the original motivational speaker. Tony Robbins was one of his salespeople, and Don Hobbs was his sales manager. They're about a year apart. And Don does a video called "The Brand Is You," and it really talks about in real estate, you have to pick a niche that you're associated with, but that you become an expert in it, so you can create value for your customers. And so I did a self-assessment and looked at my personality. I looked at my father had been an attorney. I'd been around attorneys a lot. So for me, the niche of probate real estate and working with attorneys kind of jumped out at me and said, hey, this is a good fit for you. And so about 3.5 years ago, I relaunched my business without one lead, without one listing, without one buyer in probate real estate. And I took a training class, Probate Mastery's coach, Chad Corbett was a coach. He challenged us to go to court to learn about the probate process. And I was fascinated when I was there. It was obvious there was business going on. It was obvious people needed help. It was obvious that the people doing business weren't that much better than I could be. And so I launched a business 3.5 years ago that's resulted in fantastic income and wealth building for me in the last few years.
You're very, very fascinating. And I think that I remember you telling that story on one of the YouTube streams, and I can resonate with that because I started in sales, took over my mother's company. We went from 1 office to 3 offices, and I'm in a rural area, 50 something agents. And I just woke up one day the same way you felt. There was nothing fulfilling, and I missed being a part of listing and selling real estate. And so that just resonated with me as well, and I appreciated you sharing that. Well, I think that's one of the reasons I wanted to do this podcast with you is a lot of people who are thinking about getting their real estate license, and maybe some people who get their license and they're like, why am I not making any money? Where's a good place for them? I mean, there are all of these different niches, but if you wanted to
Mm,
start in the working probate deals,
mm,
where's a good, I mean, how do you start in that? Or you went to court, and I heard you say that you went
mm,
every day to court.
mm,
Um, do you go, I mean, do they have actual hearings on a daily
mm.
basis to go to open up probate? Or I'm just curious how that all works.
Well, I live in Los Angeles, which is the largest probate court in America. And while it used to be spread out at regional courts, they moved all of LA County to one courthouse. So as a result, we have the largest single courtroom or courthouse of probate business in the country by far. So that was a unique opportunity for me. A lot of the real estate agents who built probate business, well, I should say that also changed about 5 years ago. So a lot of realtors built their business, let's say at the Whittier local court of LA County, or the Montebello local court, or the Van Nuys local court. But all of a sudden, everything's in one spot. So they kind of got disrupted, and I had an opportunity. So I think you have to look at, and I live only half an hour from the courthouse. Even with traffic, it's 5 miles, but it's about a half-hour drive. I like wearing a suit and tie, not every day, all the time, but so I think you have to look at yourself and your opportunity. And I encourage agents that I coach to go to the courthouse to see what's there. In smaller rural counties, there's a lot less business, but there's more chance to meet people. And I've had agents who I've coached up who went daily. There wasn't a hearing every day, maybe once a week, maybe on Thursdays or something. But by going every week after a month, the judge noticed them. Well, that's a big asset. If you know the probate court judge, if ever you have to go before them, it's a big asset to have that relationship. Attorneys work hard to develop those relationships as well. They're worth a lot. So I think, I don't know that I would necessarily say that's the way anybody else should go. I actually have a video, 11 ways to sell property in probate real estate, on my YouTube channel. My YouTube channel is Bill Gross EXP. And so if you look at the 11 ways, there's 11 different ways. One is going to court every day, and there's 10 others you can choose from. And I encourage people to be aware of all 11. The companies that sell the data typically sell one or two methods. They either sell buyer data and cold call all the petitioners. And there are people who do that, and that can work, or mail to petitioners. It costs money, but that can work. Or buyer data and call the attorneys. And that's tough. It's a really tough way to go. But there's 9 other ways that I lay out. One is going to court, and there's 8 other ways I think that you can also develop business in probate real estate. The most common one for most people is estate planning. In most states, you can avoid probate if you plan ahead with an estate plan, often including a living trust. And so if you own a house in California or most states, you should have one. So if you have one of your own, I would say, well, who did it for you? If you're happy with them, talk to them and see if you can refer them business, and then talk to your prospects, your clients, and encourage them to do the same thing. And so that becomes a cycle that you can reach out to your clients and talk about and create value for them, learn about something, and then share it with your database.
Yeah, great suggestions. I really appreciate that. And by the way, I'll have information down below where you can reach out to Bill. Do subscribe to his YouTube channel. I find it so fascinating, so helpful.
Thank you.
And I told him he's not on there just trying to sell stuff. He's trying to just add value and help people out. And if you have an interest in going down the probate path for prospecting, Probate Mastery, we'll put a link there as well. I'm a big believer. Don't try to reinvent the wheel. If there's a recipe out there, it's probably works. Follow it. You can always tweak it to your liking, but at the same time, try to follow the recipe. But so I'm interested in the fact that you had took an office to 7 offices. What did you see new agents who really succeeded? What did you see them do that kind of took them to the next level? Just was there anything unique that you noticed about people who just made it in the business?
First thing I would say is It's a business. It's not a job. The ones who struggle, I think, treat it like it's a job where they get 100% commission. And the problem is they don't save money. They don't invest money in their business. They don't put money aside for taxes. They inevitably run out of money and quit. So it's a business. Businesses usually fail because you're not capitalized properly. So you really can't be investing money in your business that you don't have. That's the biggest mistake I see, right? It's like a runway for an airplane. At some
Right.
point, you run out of runway, you crash. And if you have enough runway, you can take off. So you either have to have capital put aside, or the other thing I see that people who are successful in building a business is they spend a period of time in mentorship or learning how to build a business by working for somebody else's company at a much lower commission split. The number one mistake I see new licensees make, I get this phone call all the time. And I make myself available. People call me. I have questions about the business. And they want to find the highest commission split. And I tell them, no, you're 100% wrong. I can give you 100% split and an extra percent because you're never going to close anything. You need to find somebody willing to invest in you. And yes, it's going to cost you money. That's the exchange. It's called business. You have to find somebody who's doing what you want to do, and then you're learning how to do it from them. It's an internship. It's an apprenticeship. And yeah, you're going to pay them a chunkier commission, and it's going to seem like more than it's worth. But if you learn and you use that learning over the next 10, 20, 30 years, it's way more valuable than the commission you're paying. So the number one mistake I see all the time is new agents focused on it, and they get these little spreadsheets and go, okay, this company's at 100%, but they charge me 800. This one charges
Right.
me,
Yeah.
this one charges 80%. Blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, all that's great, but what are you going to do to get business? That's all that really matters.
Right.
All that matters when you start is you have to generate business. Once you have that flow going, you have a system where you can do it on your own, then you can start to cut your expenses by finding a better commission plan. But I find that to be the biggest mistake, is treating it like it's a job, not a business, and then associating with people because of the lowest cost as opposed to who's going to give you the most value.
I totally agree. A very quick story. Back in the early 1980s, when I was at Cape Girardeau at my college, Sam Walton, the founder of Walmart, came to speak to our business group. And I remember him talking, and he made the statement, Bill, he said, I was over at Jackson and I was talking to Tom. He has a little sporting goods store over there. And Tom said, I need this type of bait, Sam. And I said, well, you order that. And he was talking to Susie. She's got a little sewing shop over in. And what he was talking about, Bill, was all of those department heads had little businesses in Walmart, and he wanted them to run those departments like it was their business. And I totally agree. I think so many agents come in and they don't understand that you need to have a budget. You need to know what your break even is. You need to know how many deals you've got to close. And all of that kind of leads to your vision and your plan to go out and knock on doors. So great information and great advice. Thank you so much. Well, check out Bill's YouTube channel. You will love it. And, I think you ought to check out the Probate Mastery. I was very intrigued. I've done a lot of probate deals, and you touched on this in one of your episodes. I think what I have always enjoyed about doing probates or working with people who are transitioning from a home to a senior citizen, a long-term care, is that they really need our help. I mean, sometimes people are thrown into those situations and they don't know what to do. And it's so, to me, satisfying when you can be that guide or that person that helps lead them down that path to where they can take some of the fear and anxiety away. But I
It
don't
can be
know
hard.
your thoughts on that.
Well, it can be hard too. You have to really enjoy it, because I think I would say, I never wanted to be a doctor because I couldn't deal with the blood and the pain of it. I think
Right.
doctors don't necessarily enjoy blood and pain. I think they appreciate that the blood and the pain is what they have to go through to heal somebody and make them feel better. And they know that, and they're strong enough and can focus on that. And I'd say the same with probate, that some people don't like it because the customers have a lot more needs. There's a wide variety of services I have to offer. I have to, trash out properties, and I have to do cleanup services and hazmat cleanups, and removal of cars, trucks, boats, guns, unregistered guns, all kinds of things that the average realtor doesn't deal with. But at the end of the day, I have a customer who is so appreciative, and I have an attorney in many cases so appreciative of the work I do, that that's what I focus on. And so I think the challenge is, what are you going to do that's going to create value for other people? That's how we get paid. And yes, sometimes it's difficult and challenging, but I know that the more problems somebody has, the more opportunities I have to solve them. And that's how I get paid in the long run.
Great. Well, Bill, thanks again for your time, and encourage all of our listeners and those watching, go out, check out his YouTube channel. As he said, I'm sure you might get a call or two from some of our people, but I appreciate you being willing to help me out as well.
Thanks, Sean. Thanks so much. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.